Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and I love to make mediocre matter one good setup at a time. Today, I'm talking about the Libtech Ejack knife, a board that I've ridden extensively in the past, and still, the overall ride is very aggressive, more on the technical side. Still has really solid grip though. Not the best float in powder compared to some of its peers. And it lives in that border between freeride and all mountain, where it doesn't feel fully tapered, setback, and directional like a lot of freeride boards, but feels more directional and setback than a lot of all mountain boards. But overall, it's a very lively, poppy, fun turning board that I had a pretty good time on it. I got on this at the demos. It's not ideal, but since Altamont bought Libtech and gutted them, I lost all my media contacts, and the local rep is 9 hours away. So it's been challenging, to say the least, to demo these boards. And I went up to the demos and took a few laps on it to get a taste of what it's like now versus the old board. Luckily, a lot of that personality of the old ride is still there in the new one, so I can give you a very good take on how this board rides and what it feels like. And even if they could send me this board for an extended demo, you would always know that this is an honest, objective review from an average rider's perspective with zero brand oversight. And I can do that thanks to support from readers like yourself and sponsorship from Blower Board Shop. Truly a great shop that's been around for decades, selling to snowboarders longer than most resorts have been allowing snowboarders. They're family run, they have a large online presence, great shipping, great customer service. So if you want to support honest, objective content, a great shop, and snowboarding in general, click through our links to Blower Board Shop and buy something. We greatly appreciate it. Now let's talk sizing. This 157 felt great to me. I've ridden the 59 and the 57 in the past. I can handle both of them fine. I just like that little bit shorter length and the little bit extra control I get with the 57, but the 59 was no problem for me either. It really comes down to your personal perspective. I generally lean towards control. If you lean more towards speed, drive, and a little bit better float, you could go 59 if you had the same specs as me. So let's talk shape here. This is tapered and directional with 8 millimeters of taper, and it's 1 inch back on side cut. So if you set it all the way back with a 22.5 inch stance width, which is a little wide, you can get 3 inches back from center of board, which is a good bit more than the 1 inch back on side cut, but it's still not quite as good as a lot of full-on freeride boards that are often around 3.5 or maybe even more. But the overall feel of this board is very centered, doesn't feel very tapered, and doesn't feel that directional. And when it comes to the camber profile, there seems to be a decent amount of early rise, but take into consideration that that step is not level. And what I felt on snow is this didn't have that forgiving feel that the Librig 157 I tested on the same day did. And this feels a little more technical, a little more locked in, like it has more camber than a lot of the Libtech boards that have early rise. It's more for advanced expert riders and a committed intermediate who's willing to take a few lumps when they get off their game, but there are a lot better boards out there for intermediates for sure. Now, when it comes to edge hold, this has a very mellow but very effective disruption in the side cut. This is more on the mellow mag side. Even though this grips really well in hard snow, it doesn't grab as much in soft snow, and I think a lot of people will be pleased with this. Now, when it comes to the flex personality, I felt like this was medium stiff. It took a little bit more work to butter and to ollie than it did the Libtech Librig, which was easy on both accounts, but it didn't feel as challenging as, let's say, the Libtech Dynamo. That took a little bit more work and felt a little bit more aggressive than this. This tracks into a jump really well, feels much more centered than you would think for being 1 inch back on side cut. It can track into a complicated side hit really well, launch off it, and land really well too. I think it's a great board for getting air. You can throw this around, switch. I thought it was a very good ride switch for how directional and tapered it was. This is a really fun board for hitting kickers and riding the pipe, but it's not ideal for jibbing for sure. And while this has a poppy, energetic flex to it, it can still handle hard micro bumpy snow very good, and then soft, messy, uneven snow. It can buck and bounce a little bit, but it's not going to be that bad. So overall, this is a very good all-day ride. And when it comes to turning, this turn initiation was great for me. I felt like it was medium fast. It went wherever I needed it to go. And while it feels like there's more tail behind you in tight spots, like in tight tree lines that are uneven, it'll be a little catchy, not the smoothest, making hard rights or hard lefts, but it'll slalom really well between the trees. And I think most people will be really happy with this turn initiation. And when you get this disrupted 8-meter side cut engaged on a carve, I found first off that it had very fun, almost full camber-like spring out of the turn, which I really enjoyed. And what I liked about this board is the neutrality it had when it comes to weighting your turns. Sometimes a board with 8 millimeters of taper feels like it needs a lot more weight on the back foot. This felt like it needed little to no back foot weight on the turns. Center weighted turns were fine, and front foot weighted turns were pretty good too. So I think any way you want to weight your turns will be fine with this board, even though it might lean a touch towards center to back foot weighted turners. And I felt like I could make all kinds of radius turns, everything from circle carvy to across the groomer type carves, to medium radius turns, to longer drawn out down the line turns that might lead into a straight line. And I think if you like to straight line and point it, this will do a really good job for what this is. It's not a full-on bomber, but this is very good overall for the kind of shape and flex personality it has. So when it comes to base glide, it's average, but it doesn't seem to have the low lows that the knife cut centered base can have. That needs a lot of waxing. This seems like it won't need as much waxing. Now, when it comes to powder float, I didn't get this new board in powder, but I got the old one in about 1.5 feet of thick Pacific Northwest powder, and I felt like it took a good bit of work, especially in low angle powder. But if you ride steeper angle powder, this is going to be just fine, especially with what seems like maybe a touch more early rise than the older model, even though it doesn't seem to have more setback on board than before. If you know how to ride camber in powder, this is going to be fine for you. But if you're like me and you like that cheater float, you might look towards a different ride, like the LibTech LibRig. That I just felt floated easier than the old Ejack knife for sure. And overall, I think the Ejack knife is a great board. It's highly recommendable for people who love to turn, love to get air, might ride the pipe on occasion, want a one-board quiver for just about everything, see a lot of hard, icy snow days, but don't want a board that grabs in soft snow. This could work pretty well for you. So hope that helps.